All right, everybody.
So we are live for the NFL draft. Oh, were you narrating? Is that what you meant by you would narrate?
Yeah, that's what I meant. I meant I would talk, narrating. So it is 9 p.m. on Thursday, April 24th. We're live from the NFL draft. The Carolina Panthers are currently on the clock, and as you know, my co-host Alex is a Carolina Panthers fan, as he is from North Carolina, and we are going to wait. Right now, you're going to watch Alex react in real time when we learn whom the Panthers select.
Yeah. So right now they are in commercial break. So I'm learning how to avoid traffic and be on time to work when I'm in the West Palm Beach area, which is not super helpful to me as I work from home. It means getting back from the gym in a timely fashion. So yeah, we'll let you know. This is kind of a weird live cold open that we're doing. Of course, the Panthers would get their pick in a commercial. Might switch over to the draft tracker, see if something get those both up. But yeah, I think this is going smoothly.
Yeah, I think we definitely nailed this one, and we
so
should.
Ethan, tell everybody about your favorite NFL team.
Oh, so after living here for 12 years in the DMV area, I've joined on to the DC Commanders bandwagon now that they've had a successful name change. Growing up in Los Angeles, I did not have an NFL team. The Rams left when I was 6 years old, and I said, I don't like you, never come back. They, of course, did come back and won a Super Bowl, but I was rooting against them that whole game. It didn't work out for me, but frankly, I'm just a petty B. So go Commanders. You know how it is. Jaden, what up?
Yeah, Jaden Daniels, superstar.
Quite good.
We're all of a sudden turning into an NFL draft podcast. 2.5 minutes in.
I
really thought when ESPN went to commercial, they were like, the pick is in. And I was like, something is going to report this. And that was 3 minutes of clock time ago. So I was like, let's go live. Let's see what happens. And we're still getting, commercials.
So I do have a question because I missed it. I was doing dishes. The Giants picked Abdul Carter and then traded him. Is that what happened?
I don't know about that. I was kind of packing up my stuff. So this is not going to be the most in-depth analysis. I do know that the Jaguars traded for the second pick with the Browns.
You got T-Mac.
Bryce
that's a good one.
Young. Bryce Young getting some help. That is fantastic.
That is exciting.
Yeah, I see nothing but Jalen Walker in all the 3 mock drafts that I looked at. So that is awesome. Big bodied wide receiver come to the Carolina Panthers. Shout out to me and about half of our listeners who are big Carolina Panthers fans. So
that's really excited for you guys. Yeah. So yeah.
Hey, I found his dad.
I think Dad has made some excellent progress today.
Your dad, he's a fun guy, right?
And I love him so much, and I think he's the greatest dad in the world.
Welcome back to the Working on the Dad pod. I'm still as hyped as I was when you left me, obviously jumping around. The NFL draft is obviously underway, but tonight we're not talking about that. We are talking about societal norms, which I guess could probably apply to the NFL draft because I think a societal norm I might drill into my kids is please don't ever be the type of person that travels and just stands outside for hours making the NFL draft like a must-see event. I washed dishes during the first couple picks. Saw our boy Cam Ward go number 1 overall. Shout out to the U. But past that, we will be talking about those kind of societal norms that you try to instill in your children, maybe to the point that it annoys you over and over again, but teaching those little people how to become bigger and better people. And those little norms that maybe sometimes are annoying. And frankly, some of them are probably a little outdated. We'll get into those too. First, we'll have a little bit of story time. Then we will work on the dad bod. And then we'll sign off. So Ethan, how you doing, man?
I'm all right. That's twice in this episode. I was getting ready to speak, and you just took my intros from me. So it's okay. I'm really excited about this topic, and I will just declare for everybody that I'm gonna go first, so that Alex doesn't come in and swipe again.
Sure.
But I will also start with.
I'm gonna let you have the floor on that.
Thank you. So, my story time for the week is when you last saw me a week ago. We were gearing up, ready to do the 3-day potty training method with my youngest, because this past weekend was Easter, so there was no ballet on Saturday. Sorry, and no gymnastics on Sunday. So it meant that we could keep her home for 48 hours without having to leave the house for anything, which is kind of needed for the 3-day method, particularly day one. For those of you who are unaware, when you do the 3-day method, you essentially just have the kid walk around without pants. They can wear a shirt if they want. I think that's kind of weather dependent, but really it comes down.
We call it.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, exactly. The Pooh Bear. And in our case, every like few minutes I would just turn to her and say, "Hey, you got a potty, or are you good?" And she'd either say I have to potty or I'm good. And if she said she has to potty, we would just put her on the potty. If she didn't want to go within a 20-minute period, I would just put her there. Basically, every 20 minutes she had to sit down, and if she didn't have to go, she had to count to 10 in case she changed her mind. And that was how we did day one. Day two, you usually add pants so they can work on the pulling down the pants method. And then on the third day, you either go with a pull-up or training underwear, depending on what you have. And that's it. So we've been doing.
Man, this is.
I know. I'm sorry. So we do have a really big result, but I'm going to make you wait for it again because there's a very important point I want to make.
Now here's some commercials.
When it was exactly very much picks on the clock. So when it was just me and my daughter, she peed in the potty. When it was my daughter and my mother-in-law, she peed on the potty. Again, no accidents. If it was my wife and my daughter, or my wife, me and my daughter, there was all 5 accidents that happened over the weekend. My wife was present. Now, does that mean that I'm just better at this than her? No, of course not. I would never say that.
Oh, sorry.
That's what you're here for. So I just wanted to put out there that sometimes it was just timing. It had nothing to do with which mature adult was there and which wasn't. But but the real result is day one back at school, she had a bunch of accidents because we forgot to tell the teacher that basically every few minutes we would ask her, and she just kind of waited for the normal time she asks the kids in the class for potty. So we forgot to give her that one extra bit. So no accidents the rest of the week. And then today, right before I did my nightly shower with the girls, she had her first potty poop because she was not pooping in the potty. And I was really freaking out because if those of you remember my
PTSD, baby.
My older daughter, was 99% potty trained for about a year and a half before she finally pooped her cherry, if you know what I mean. And yeah, that was a weird one. Anyway, I was very much afraid that we would not get to the point where poop fell into the potty with my little girl. It was only a week. She did have a few like overnight diaper poops, so it wasn't like she was holding it in like my older daughter did when she went like 3 days without pooping at all until she accidentally pooped in the bathtub and it like floated by her face, which was just truly hilarious. But it was a single piece, so it's not like there was like diarrhea in the toilet. It was just like she goes and like the poop goes like Jaws. But we successfully had a poop tonight from my 2.5-year-old, and I'm ecstatic. So that happened about 2 hours ago. What's your story for the week, man?
Well, first I want to sidetrack here and say something now that we have the benefit of distance and time. It is not the first time you've ever called your oldest 99% potty trained. And I've got to tell you how percentages work. 60, it's generous. Like, she wasn't doing half her business in the potty, man. But she's there now. And I'm glad to hear your youngest one is is doing better.
It was 99% because she would say, I need to poop, give me a diaper or a pull-up. Then she'd put it on, she'd go to her favorite spot in the house, she'd poop, then she'd say, I'm done, wipe my butt. She like just wouldn't do it in the potty. So I'm calling it 99%.
I'll give you 70. Final offer.
This is not a negotiation. We're well past it.
Exactly. That's why I haven't brought it up until now. You weren't in the heat of it. Well, I'm happy for you.
Thank you.
So my story is about my Friday that the kids were off. I was off. For those of you that may know, for those of you that celebrate Easter, you probably know that Friday was Good Friday. It was not what I would call a Good Friday in my household.
Okay.
The day after, the morning after, less than 12 hours after, we recorded an episode about how to manage the meltdown. And my daughter decided that all day Friday, she would test me practicing what I preached.
Good.
From the jump, we get up. Kids are off school. I'm off work. My wife is working. And so that means that my daughter doesn't have to get ready and get out the door at 7 a.m. She can take her time a little bit, but I can also take my time. I've got some plans with the kids, but there's nothing big going on, nothing we have to be anywhere for. So I say, I'm going to go a little slower, let the kids eat breakfast. That means that I'm not going to the gym with my wife. I'm going 30 minutes, 45 minutes later with the kids. My wife decides that she is then going to go early because she does not have the arbitrary 8 o'clock start time when childcare opens at the gym. She's child free. My daughter decides that come hell or high water, she is going with mom. She has gotten into a habit of putting her foot down and saying, no, I'm doing this. She has a batting average of 0.000 on this method. And I continually bring that up to her. That has not seemed to stop her from just putting her foot down. She cries, she complains, she throws a tantrum because she can't go with mom. The end result, of course, is she ends up going later with dad. Everything's fine. Then we're getting in the car and I tell them, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go to the grocery store because the next day we're hosting an Easter get together for our family and some friends and, doing like a little egg hunt for the kids. My daughter decides that she's going to throw a fit and she's going to put her foot down in the parking lot of the YMCA that she is not going to go to the grocery store.
Does she physically put her foot down? Like, does she enact?
There's usually some stomping. There's usually some stomping. There's usually like a stomp, and I'm not going to do it. Like, I think she does.
Okay. All right.
And,
cool.
sometimes she just crosses her arms and pouts.
Okay.
Well, we get through that because once again, I remind her, I gently but firmly give her the options. They are, you can get in your car seat or I will put you in your car seat. And I cannot guarantee, I will try my best to be gentle, but I cannot guarantee that you won't get hurt. Right? Because if you remember last week's episode, she loves to cry. Daddy hurt me anytime I physically move her from one location to another when she does not want to comply with the rules. So we do that. Then we have a nice little couple hours. We go play Top Golf. Me and the kids. Wife ends up joining for lunch. That was great. No big problems. I do need to take your advice from over a year ago and get my daughter a golf glove. Still hadn't done that, and it was starting to show after playing Top Golf for a while and swinging. So I need to do that. But then, unfortunately, and I had prepped her for this, we had to go to a different grocery store because there were some things that my wife wanted from one grocery store that has a really great bakery, and some things she wanted from another grocery store that has just more common stuff or better prices or better availability. I don't know. She had done all the shopping. And because she had put the list together and knew what she wanted, and I was trying to be very particular to her wishes, it was going to take me a little bit longer to navigate through it because, usually when I'm doing the shopping and I've built the recipes, I'm like, well, I know what I'm trying to accomplish here. I can pick out a substitution, no problem. Well, that wasn't great for my daughter. She once again put her foot down. And this continued over and over and over again. Meanwhile, my son, unlike your youngest, my youngest, has still not perfected the pull up or pull down your own pants game. He wants somebody to do it for him. And one time while getting off of the toilet, he's standing on his little stool that he uses to get up on the toilet that he doesn't actually need anymore because he's big enough. And I'm going to pull up his pants, and he stands straight up and rattles my teeth together. I had a dentist appointment yesterday, and to this day, if I bite on something wrong, it's still a little nervy and painful. After that, I was playing with them in their room, and he playfully, we're wrestling, whatever, just hauls off, gives me a straight right into the eyeball. Finally, after my daughter's latest meltdown, I'm sitting there trying to talk to her and reason with her, and homeboy comes over with a stick in his hand and just starts rapping me on the head. And I got to tell you, everything we had talked about the night before went out the window. I had the rage of the Incredible Hulk at this small child to tell him, because this was a thing. This is a thing that he just kind of hits. He hits playfully with a smile on his face. He tells his teacher that he doesn't hit in class. He hits his family. He just hits his family. And he tells his teacher, yeah, I hit my sister. I hit my mom. I hit my dad. Why? Because I love them. And I'm like, bro, that's not love. But I gave it to him. I'm like, you are hurting me. You are hurting your sister. You are hurting your mother. Stop it. It is terrible. Like, he's in tears and I'm still going. Like, I did not have an off switch at that point. And I just lost all my marbles. And my wife comes in like an hour later from her desk. She's like, how's it going? I'm like, how's work going? When are you going to be off?
Right.
It's been a bit of a day. So yeah, that's my failure for the week. I did apologize to them, but I do try to, when I do lose my cool, I do try to apologize, separate that apology, say that I'm sorry, but then I do come back and go, okay, I apologize for yelling. But what I said, and I'm going to say it now in a different tone so you can understand me, I meant. You can't keep hitting. You can't put your foot down every time. So yeah, that was my Good Friday.
That was great.
Yeah.
It sounded good. That sounded really good to me. So that's I'm sorry. That's really tough. And really honestly sorry about your teeth. So like, what did the dentist say?
The dentist said it was probably just some bruising, kind of like a ankle sprain. You just got to give it time. Got to be gentle with it. I just do a lot of biting with the left side of my mouth, and it's a little better every day. But they inspected it, and there wasn't any blood at any point or anything, and they didn't have cause for concern. But a couple times yesterday, they were doing a little scrapey scrape thing and pressed a little too hard. And I had an agreement with the hygienist, or I would shoot my hand up. So, that was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So why don't we get into this topic? So I was thinking about this topic, and when I brought it up to you, it is because there are certain things that obviously are societal norms, just normal ways one interacts with one another. And as parents, it falls on us to teach the kids how to do those things. The first being, and the one that honestly can sometimes be the most annoying, is practicing please and thank you to the point where it becomes an ingrained habit that they learn how to do it. And for me, it's more of, I want to just drill it into you so that when you are older, you know when and when not to use it. But the problem with please and thank you, and I've always thought this, but about 2 years ago on a separate podcast, I heard somebody else say it, and I didn't really, and it reminds me of it now because I'm working on it with my oldest and even my youngest too. But please and thank you, when said in a forced way, sound like it means the opposite. And I kind of just want to show you what I'm talking about. So,
Sure.
Alex, will you please do this podcast with me? Normal. Thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Versus, can you do this for me, please? And when you add the please at the end, it definitely sounds like I'm annoyed. I'm waiting on you. It doesn't sound sincere. It sounds like you messed up. And I'm really trying to get through my own awkward physical reactions to when I hear my daughter say it in a way that sounds forced, or when I have to say, are you missing a word? Because sometimes she'll say to people, do this for me, or can I have this, or I want that. And then the things will happen, but I have to say, are you missing a word? And it's usually please or thank you. So to me, that's like number one on the societal norm that is both important, but also extremely annoying. So that is kind of what sparked this whole topic for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's quite a few of them. I think please and thank you is definitely up there. We have to work with our kids like they are just little savages, and we have to work with them regressing back from that of like there needs to be a question, right? Not even like it's not even can I have some water please, or can I please have some water or something like that. It's like I'm thirsty.
Right.
And tried and true, I keep it in my back pocket. I used it at dinner tonight, and my daughter got mad and she gets annoyed at me when I do it. But I go, hi, thirsty, I'm dad.
Do the same thing.
Old faithful.
Yeah.
I'm like, you haven't asked anything of me. Or I'm cold. Hi, cold, I'm dad. And I pull it out, and my daughter goes, you always do that, and it's not funny. I go, well, you always just sit there and demand things of me, and it's not funny, and it's not cool, and it's not what I want. And so that's a big one. One that we actually had this week that I found was a fascinating, because I think it's one of the more complex ones, and something something we work on with my daughter a lot, because she has a tendency to interrupt when other people are talking. But my son has started doing it probably more than my daughter too. And so one night during dinner, I said, okay, everybody, we're going to have a challenge. First person to interrupt loses. You can't interrupt while someone else is talking. I lost. And this is the nuance here. It is really hard to have a normal conversation sometimes and not interject.
Right.
When you're having a back and forth. But I think the societal norm is so much deeper than don't interrupt. It is like learn how the flow of conversation goes. And there's a difference between interjecting with something, gauging the temperature, and like stopping because you realize their thought wasn't complete. And like my son tapping me on the shoulder, dad, 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 dad. So blah, 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 like while I'm in the middle of a sentence.
Yeah.
Right. And so that one is so tough and nuanced. I feel like we should just ping pong this. Just go back and forth.
Yeah,
with different ones.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say, that one gets us a lot because I get really annoyed when I'm interrupted. And there's definitely a difference between an interjection and interruption. As you mentioned, the dad, or mom. When two of us are talking, it's kind of just really frustrating as opposed to reacting to what's being said. But with the urgency to change the conversation, to me, that is the line between interruption and interjection. And, now that we have finished as a family Bluey season 1, we have seen the episode where Bandit, the dad, has Bluey and Bingo put their hand on his arm to acknowledge that they have something to say. And it's like a way of silence. So we try that. Problem is, when my daughter does that during dinner, because she usually sits next to my wife then pulls her arm away because my daughter's, like a messy eater, and she's now like sliming, the food on my wife's long sleeve shirt or sweatshirt, whatever she's wearing, because she's always cold. And I can't get upset at my wife because obviously I too would not want my sweatshirt to have sauce on it. But at the same time, it's making it really hard to instill this habit that we agreed that we were going to work on, where we're trying to teach her not to interrupt. And by pulling away, it makes it a little bit harder. So I did just want to say that one, that's a great one to bring up.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough.
Yeah.
You want to go next?
You know what? I blanked for a second. Why don't you take another one? I blanked for a second.
So saying sorry, even when you don't feel like it. This is a big
oh
one
yes.
Same. So this is one that this is one we have to work on a lot. My daughter is very, very sensitive to saying sorry. She has like overwhelming guilt when she has to do it, to the point that like she really struggles to say sorry.
I think we have the same.
And for me, I think, the norm is that sometimes you say sorry even when you don't mean it. And it's tough because you don't want to build insincerity in kids. But I also think that sorry is just sometimes a polite thing. And you don't want to, like, this is another one that I think, like many of these, are going to end up being pretty nuanced, that like, I think as adults, we can then become too conditioned to apologize when things are out of our control and we're not really sorry. Like, oh, I'm so sorry there was traffic. Well, did you cause the traffic?
No.
Then why are you sorry? Right? Like, and maybe you're sorry for wasting somebody else's time, but again, you didn't do that, not with any intention. And it's separating that, because I also, when things are out of your control, I still also want my daughter to apologize if she knocks her brother over or does something to him that she doesn't mean to. I think it's appropriate to say, like, I screwed up, right? Like, I didn't mean to do this, but I did cause it. So that one's sort of a tough one. But then on the flip side of it, it can also become overused, where my son, with the hitting thing that I mentioned during story time, he'll often hit and somebody will say, ow, and he'll just go, sorry, sorry, sorry. And I really try to drill into my kids that sorry is not just a word that makes everything better. Sorry has to have intention behind it. You have to actually not want to do that anymore. And I don't say those exact words to a 3-year-old. What I do say is you have to mean it and you have to stop doing it. If you are really sorry, it's great to say you're sorry, but you also need to stop doing it.
So I can actually offer a piece of advice on that one, because we go through the same thing, where my older daughter also gets this overcoming feeling of guilt, where it's just, hey, you hurt me, please say you're sorry, acknowledge what happened. And then, she'll start to cry because she thinks she's in trouble. It's really not that. But I know you're not a Daniel Tiger family, but there is an episode of Daniel Tiger where they learn how sorry is the first step. You then sometimes have to say, how can I help? Because sorry doesn't always make it any better. Sorry, they treat as the acknowledgement, and then the how can I help is the way that you basically admit that you want to right the wrong. So I don't know if that would be useful. So another one I wanted to talk about was the, it's not so much eye contact. I mean, that's definitely important, but I think for me, where we struggle is my older daughter, she has a really hard time staying still. Or if we're having a serious conversation, she will like lift her head up and look at the ceiling, or she'll move around, and I have to sometimes grab her and say, I am talking to you. And every time you are moving around like this, where it doesn't seem like you're listening to me, and if she goes, I am listening, I'll say, well, what did I just say? I don't know. So sometimes I feel bad literally holding her down to essentially make eye contact, but really it's kind of just to show me that you're focused on me. And, I don't know if this is like early early signs of any kind of ADHD, you'd be the expert on that. But sometimes I think it's just fidgetiness, and it's
In
tough.
in this day and age, it feels like everything. I try to
Yeah,
stay away from a diagnosis of a kid I've only met
sure,
in person one time several
sure,
years ago. But
right,
my
but
daughter struggles with the same thing.
mhm,
I struggle with it a little bit, maybe not as much. But we had an episode at school today where basically they have to wear an ID badge every day, and my daughter came out without hers on. Sometimes she goes
mhm,
ahead and stuffs it in her backpack. She came out without hers on. I go, "Where's your ID badge?" And she goes, "I left it on the playground." Basically, like, okay, why was it ever off your neck? It's on a lanyard.
right,
Why was it ever off your neck? And she goes to explain it to me, and we're by the like fenced in area where their bikes are, and she's like turning around and grabbing the fence and doing all this stuff.
mhm,
I'm like, and there's PA announcements going. There's chatter from other people. Like, I can't hear her. She's mumbling
right,
and she's not looking at me. I can't have a prayer to read lips or whatever. And like, I gently, like, with no very little force, just sort of like, let's go, hey, can you look at me and talk to me? And she just like, is like, don't touch me. Like, don't grab my face like that. And I was like, okay, I can't hear you. Let's finish this conversation at home. We don't need to have it here, but like we need to do it. And yeah, that's a constant struggle, and it's a source of frustration because I find myself getting really frustrated where I'm like, this is really quick. Can you put the book down? Can you give me 2 seconds of your time? Right. Later this afternoon, we're getting ready to go to the Y for her brother's soccer practice, and she goes swimming with her grandma. And I was trying to tell her to get her swimsuit on, and she's like nose deep in a book. And I'm like, hey, can you just look up for a second? Like, so that I know you're
mhm,
hearing me, because I've got to go deal with some work stuff and I need to know that you're going to get your swimsuit on.
right,
Right. So that we're not scrambling in 30 minutes when we have to leave. So yeah, no, I definitely, I don't know if that's a little kid thing or if that's
yeah,
it does seem to get worse at the end of the day. So it may just be like how much capacity they have left for listening after they've been spending all day doing it, for sure.
yeah. I definitely don't like to throw around ADHD. I know it's serious. I just know it's a lot more common than most people realize. So, it's
I
something
think
I
I
keep
think
in the
it's
back of
one
my
of those
mind.
that exists on a spectrum, and I think it's always
Yeah.
super helpful. Like, you can do one of two things. You can get a professional to diagnose it,
Mhm.
or you can try tips and tricks, obviously not medication, but like tips and
Right.
tricks to manage that person that has the ADHD. And that's the route I've taken, because what I learned from my therapist is essentially that mental health providers won't really provide an ADHD diagnosis for kids unless it's affecting home and school. And my
Mhm.
daughter's, at least right now, super high achieving in school, and so it hasn't impacted her there. It only
Mhm.
is a home impact. And I'm like, well, I don't know that I want to medicate her even if she did get diagnosed. So why not just use the like cognitive behavioral therapy type tricks to work with
Yeah.
her? Something to
Yeah.
consider, if you think.
Yeah.
And because basically it's like approach the situation a little bit differently, give a little more grace in some areas, and see how it works out. It's not
Yeah.
some
I'm not.
some big
I'm.
thing.
I'm not super concerned at the moment. I think it's definitely more of just like a little kid thing in capacity
Mhm.
for focus and attention. You know, our pediatrician is kind of on the when we asked about it, honestly, when she was 4, where I would say I feel like she just stares at my face when I talk and then has no idea what happened. And she's just said, I don't even really look into the ADHD at this age unless there is a physical harm happening to another person in the family, is kind of her
Yeah.
threshold. So,
Yeah, and
yeah.
most people were saying, that because there's a lot of other things that can come with it. Dyslexia is a common um, co-occurrence, not something that my daughter
Hmm.
suffers from, or anything, and to my knowledge, not something your oldest suffers from, as readers. But I think Anyway, that's sort of a whole separate rabbit hole.
Yeah,
About
my
that.
bad.
Like my son struggles with it, but the red flag for me is that my son and my daughter do about the same at paying attention to a conversation, and I go, well, he's half your age, so
Right.
that's sort of the red flag for me.
Right.
All right, so my norm that I think deserves maybe a little bit of questioning is taking turns and sharing. Right,
Yep.
this is one we drill into kids early. Oh, you got to share, and we talked about this with like kids and stuff episode, I believe. But just the concept that I don't really buy into, you have to share. We generally try to get our kids, if we think it's something they'll both like, we generally try to get them each something like that. But sharing is not something that we sort of try to dictate. Like, this is my daughter's and this is my son's, and they get to choose how much they want to share. And it has its ups and downs. My daughter, being older, smarter, manipulative, she basically takes a tact of what's mine is mine and what's his, we share. And so that leads to like quite a lot of fights.
Sure.
Because it just does, as you can imagine. And so my general thesis on sharing is just like, sharing is a nice, courteous thing to do. That doesn't mean you have to do it. And that doesn't mean you should feel obliged to share a toy just because someone else is in your presence and is interested in that toy. If you're interested in it, then don't share it. And that just tends to butt heads with the fact that siblings, as you probably know, whatever one is playing with becomes the most important thing for the other. I'm like, we have hundreds, if not thousands of toys in this house. We have way too many. You haven't played with this thing in 2 years, and now your brother has found it. And this is where like my own rule comes back to bite me, because I'm like, yes, it is technically yours, but like, move your feet, lose your seat a little bit here. Like, you haven't touched this in years. He happened to pull it out, and it's an age appropriate toy for him, and it's no longer for you. Play with literally anything else. But
yeah. So I have three things that just came to mind on that one. The first is my older daughter on our soccer team. She has her own soccer ball that we bought before her first season, because we were told like you can bring your own soccer ball. So my wife went and got her like a purple sparkly soccer ball, and and she likes to use it during drills. She wants to make sure that she has her ball. And at one point we were doing a drill, and another boy on the team, who I've noticed, he likes to take the girls on the team's balls if they are a pretty color and use them. So my daughter started crying, and I said to her, I said, "Hey, sweetheart, I know that's your ball. I know it was not nice that he took it from you. Good steal, by the way. Glad I taught him that. But but if you are going to bring your ball to practice, you need to be okay with the fact that somebody else might kick it. And when you're able to use it yourself, I think that's great. But if this is how you're going to act every time somebody uses your ball, we can't take it to practice anymore." So that was one where it was kind of, if you are entering something into a sharing space, you've now made it possible to share. Earlier today, I came home a little later than normal, and I had a notary client coming, and I was in the middle of making dinner. And as I come home, I hear my two daughters yelling at each other because they were arguing over a toy. So I came in and I said, "Hey, somebody tell me what's going on." My older one said she took it from, the younger one said she took it from me, crying. And the older one said, "No, I didn't. It's mine." And I said, "Okay, were you using it when your sister was playing with it?" "No." And I said, "Well, then, even though it's yours, you were not showing an interest in it. Your little sister was. It's not nice to just take it from her just because it's yours. You can tell her you would like it back, but she is your sister and you love her. and you should let her finish what she's doing. And then the other one that's really funny, because it just, what your little example jogged my memory on, was hasn't used it in a while. It is it's now age appropriate. Is my 2.5-year-old will put on clothes, and particularly socks, and my older daughter will say, "That's my sock," and then the younger one will go, "This is her sock," and I said, "It used to be her sock, then she got bigger, and you got bigger, so now it is yours. The ownership has transferred." And so every morning, the rest of the week, she has been like, "This used to be her sock. This is my sock now," for every single pair of socks she put on. So, we're working on it. But I'm with you generally. I think, you don't have to share your stuff, but I think it is not necessarily nice to take something away from somebody, especially your younger sibling, who is using something that you had no interest in. And I do try to hammer that home. And I also try to explain how, if you're going to bring something into a sharing environment, you can't be surprised when it gets shared. So
Yeah, exactly.
yeah. Yeah.
So I wanted to, because I don't think this episode necessitates a ton more, but I wanted to oh wait, no, I think it's your turn to bring one up.
Yeah. I mean, I think you can go and we can wrap. Honestly, I think there's so many examples we could go through.
Yeah, I'm gonna rapid fire a couple here that I think are outdated, just like straight up outdated. All right, so children should be seen and not heard. I think that's quite clearly not our parenting philosophies. The whole idea of like kids, don't talk, don't be a part of the conversation. We encourage our kids to, but at the same time, sometimes going, hey, this comes back into interrupting. You want to join the conversation, you got to do it in a normal fashion. You can't just jump in every time you've got a thought. Respecting authority, no matter what, is definitely one that, had an incident with my daughter this afternoon. She was getting out of the pool or not, as the case may be. And basically I had to tell her in the car, and I had to tell her in the car, listen, if you do that again, I'm going to say it once and I'll say it a second time. If I say it a second time, I'm starting a 1-minute timer. And if that timer goes off and you are not out of the pool, you will not get to swim with your grandmother for 2 weeks. And she goes, but I only did it once. Why do I get 2 weeks? I'm like, because I want you to feel it.
Yep.
Like, we have long had a rule when we go to the Y, leaving child watch, leaving whatever. And I'm like, you've known this for most of your life. My number one rule with the Y is when I say it's time to go, it's time to go. And then my last one that I think is really important, personally, at least, is always hug, say goodbye to your relatives. This is an old one, like when you're greeting someone or saying goodbye to them, feeling bound to hug and kiss somebody because they go, come give me a hug, like, because they want the affection from your child. And I never have told my kids that they have to do that. I've always presented it. If you would like to give your grandmother a hug before she walks out the door, now is the time. And my kids ended up being very affectionate kids that always want to give the hug. And so they then run out the door if they've forgotten to do it, kind of thing. And it becomes chaos. But I do encourage people generally to present that as an option to them, but not feel like kids have to give affection. Let them have just a little bit of bodily autonomy. They don't have autonomy over much.
Which is why I would like to plug our season 2 episode of Bodily Autonomy to go back and listen to if you have not done so already, because we talked a lot about that and in that episode. So I just think that's a wonderful reminder. I'm pretty much with you on all those. I think I do sometimes take the hierarchy of I am dad and I am telling you this, and and if you're going to object, we can talk about it later. Sometimes a little more aggressively than I would like to, but honestly, sometimes it's just about time. Like, I really don't have the time to, really hash this one out with you. But
I tell my kids all the time, you do not have to like it, but you need to follow it. And if you disagree with it for a reason, follow the rule. Let's talk about it so we can change it for next time and we can figure out something that works. But now is not that time.
Right.
Yeah. Should we work on
So
that?
do you want to? Yeah. Yes, we should. You first.
3 for 3, baby.
You got me 3 times.
Alrighty. So yeah, I'll go first. Last week I was 178.8, which was like a 0.4 pound increase. And I said I was undecided on maintenance mode or cutting. And I ended up kind of deciding I was happy where I was and I wasn't going to do any intentional cuts. And this morning I weighed in at 177.4. So it's down
there you go.
1.4 pounds. So I was like, well, that's kind of a good start. So maybe I'll keep this going. I'm feeling pretty good. I was a little more dialed in and sticking to my calories and not just like snacking on a few extra nibbles here and there. And so, all of today and several times this week, I've made a more concerted effort to keep my calories at or below my daily requirements and all those kinds of things. So feeling pretty good. On the fitness front, one thing that's been really nice, didn't happen this week, but it's been going on for about a month now, is my wife and I have actually been working out together. As I mentioned in our season premiere, one of our big changes was she got a new job. And so she's no longer seeing personal training clients at 8 a.m. when I go to the gym. Obviously, I mentioned that in story time when my daughter was breaking down over my wife going to the gym. And so that's been nice, to just be able to work out with my wife. I won't say it gives me more accountability. I bet I was already pretty regular at the gym, but it does give me some, there's a lot of areas, most areas where I am stronger than my wife, but there are a couple of exercises where like she's right there with me and it gives me a little extra motivation to go, okay, I got to get my numbers up, yeah.
Very nice.
How about you?
Cool. So, my mantra since returning to the office, as everybody who's been listening knows, is if I'm going to work, then I'm going to work out in the gym in the building. And I mentioned last week when I weighed in that I was 192, and I was thinking about ways that I could even further improve. So this week, I actually doubled the time in which I do cardio first because I'm a huge sweater. I know there's a lot of people who think that, and probably not think. I know that some say you shouldn't do cardio before lifting, but frankly, when it comes down to the fact that, I sweat a lot, I do my cardio first, then I lift so that when I take the increasingly colder shower before I get redressed for work, that I don't sweat through that. I just need to get most of the sweating done. So I've upped I've pretty much doubled the amount of cardio I do. I went from 10 to 20 minutes on the elliptical before lifting. And I've really been working on trying to get the most out of that 20 minutes. I don't like to go beyond 20 minutes. I just like to hit certain marks. And between that and today, which I actually ended up going 40 minutes of cardio, and I went 4.9 miles on the elliptical. So I almost got to 5. I'm pretty much averaging under 8 minutes a mile on the elliptical, which I'm pretty happy about. That's probably like a minute faster than I was 5 weeks ago, which is pretty cool. And I do it on, the numbers don't mean a lot, but on the machine, on the elliptical I like to use, I go to resistance level 10. So whatever that means, it clearly feels much easier than 1. I mean, much harder than 1. So, that's my metric. But I was 192 last week, 189.6 today. I have been doing great with just my consistency, really making it a point to do. I listened to you talking so much about protein powder. I bought some myself, so I now, when I'm getting the kids ready to work, ready for school, and when they're eating, I quickly take a scoop of protein powder, mix it in some water, drink it, continue on my day. And that has now essentially been my breakfast every day, since I normally don't have anything until I get into the office and I'm able to grab coffee. I'm consistent with the cottage cheese, chia and everything bagel seasoning, and a banana and a fruit, either apples or grape. And that has just been my everyday calories. And as much as it has hurt me a little bit, I've limited myself to one passion papaya green tea a week instead of having one every day. So that cuts out another 1,000 calories of intake. And yesterday was the first time, and I mentioned I have a very low 1,540 calorie daily goal, that with the adjustment based on steps only, because I don't count my workouts, I actually fell under my calorie goal yesterday with the net calorie goal, but every day, even though I tend to blow past it because it is such a low number, and it honestly depends on what are we making for dinner for the family. If I was just eating by myself, I'd easily, I think, hit that. But I have definitely been blowing by less and less and less. So I'm still losing weight. I am I'm over counting my calorie intake. I'm under counting my burning. It is going well for me. Knowing that I am flying first thing in the morning to Tucson tomorrow. The reason I did a 40-minute cardio today was I actually did both my workouts for today and tomorrow. I wanted to get them in, which really just meant working in my arm exercise because, and I know I'm going long, but my high school football coach would say, you can only work out your arms if you've worked out everything else. So that is why I do arms on Friday. And that is solely because there is there's no movement in football where you need big biceps. It simply came down to, if you want your biceps to look good, do all the other exercises I need you to do. Yeah. And then your treat is biceps. So today I just worked arms in to my regular workout, and that's why I did double the cardio up front. So I basically wanted to get 2 workouts in because I know that this weekend I will try to make time. I've packed my bag with some exercise clothes with the goal of exercising, but I know that there won't be as much opportunity, and it's probably not going to be the healthiest eating weekend. But I am really happy that when we started season 3, I was 200.2 on March 13th. Today, I'm 189.6 on April 24th. So I have done pretty well, and I'm proud of myself. And I'm now 19.6 pounds away from my goal weight because I am trying to get to 170. I'm trying to get that in my head because I am about an inch and a half shorter than you are, I think. So where a 178 looks good on you, a 170 probably looks good on me. So that's what I'm going for.
We'll see. I'm under 178. Didn't you listen
to
what I said? 177.4. You can't even round to 178.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I will say a little plug for people traveling and for you to use next time. This doesn't help you now, but get some resistance bands. There's some on the wall. I'm not going to go grab them. It's not that important. But get yourself some loop resistance bands where it looks like just a giant rubber band. Those pack easily in a carry-on, especially if you're just missing arm day or something. You can do that. You can also hold them down low, do some squats. Isn't going to give you the most muscle growth? No, but it's a good way to move your body, and they can pack up, about the size of a pair of socks. So nice. Always recommend some resistance bands. I think you can get a 4-pack of varying resistance of those things for $20 on Amazon. So it's really, and probably get some cheaper if you really wanted to. Nice. That's always a good travel hack because I think sometimes getting yourself up and getting out to the hotel gym, especially at a scenario like a bachelor party, can definitely be tough. But good news is you'll probably be on your feet a lot, and your steps will probably be pretty decent moving around.
Yeah, my goal is to get 1 jog in, and because I believe my friend who's getting married, he is a basketball coach. So
he should make you run suicides.
He should. But the guy throwing the bachelor party had mentioned trying to playing like a full-on competitive pickup game. So if that is anything, that's at least an extra workout in there. And
yeah,
and
that'll account for at least a day or two of cardio. Unless you guys are playing for like 10 minutes.
Yeah, so hopefully that's hopefully I'm okay. It's been a while since I've shot a basketball. Well, actually, it's been
the last time you shot a basketball to remove yourself from our fantasy football league.
Yeah, so July. So that was it. But yeah, no, I'm excited. I'm happy with the progress I made going into this trip. I went ahead and already put my workouts for next week on my work calendar, so I'm not going to let myself fail like I have every time I've gotten thrown off by vacation before. So yeah, that's my goal, and hopefully when we weigh in next week, I'm hoping I don't go too far off track, but I know that the calories will probably be in more of abundance this weekend. But I will say, the way I've been exercising, I have not been making myself exercise on the weekends because I have been going 5 days a week in the office, and rest is good. I'm not trying to be the person who works out every day of the year like some idiot 2 years ago. Yeah. I'm a different man now. So
yeah, you're older, wiser.
Indeed.
All right, guys.
So,
well, thank you for joining. I didn't say it earlier. I've been meaning to say it all podcast, but please like and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. You can find us on YouTube. We usually post our episodes there first. And every now and then we'll do a live broadcast where Ethan shoots some free throws for his fantasy life. Hope you guys have a great weekend, and we will see you next week once I pull up the outro video. Bye. Thanks for working on the Dad Pod with us. Any resources that we mentioned during the show will be in the show notes. If you have questions, thoughts, or just want to talk with us, the best place is in the comments on YouTube. We're on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and Threads at Working on the Dad Pod, and on Twitter at Working on Dad Pod. Following and subscribing is always appreciated. Please rate and review us. That helps get the show to new people. And if you know a dad who would enjoy our show, sharing it with them is a huge help to them and us. Have a great week.